Hey everyone, we're going live for Tuesday Talks now. Today's guest is Vanessa. Vanessa is Vanessa's nomadic lifestyle embodies the flexibility and freedom she coaches her clients to achieve. And Vanessa's journey in her 24-foot Sprinter van with her retired Marine spouse and their loyal pups, Lollipop and Boot, is a testament of living life without boundaries. So let's get Vanessa on here and get to hear all her journey about this and also find out how we can do this. Right, I see you there, Vanessa. Let me just send you the invite.
Oh, you're at the beach. It all I love it. It it already turns on auto already like away from me. But you know what? This is a great picture to start with. Look at this. All you need is love, and for me, a beach because I'm in Florida.
Nice. I love that. And what a wonderful start of our Tuesday Talk as well. So thank you very much for hopping on to Tuesday Talks. I've done a short introduction for you already, but you're the best person to expand onto that. So let the audience know who you are, what you do. And the biggest question that everybody wants to know on Tuesday Talk is, why do you do it?
Yes. Why do we do this thing? Well, it all started with the pandemic. The pandemic has, there's good and bad in everything. I'm a positive intelligence coach as well. So there's always a gift and an opportunity on the other end. We don't need to freak out and be like, oh my gosh, the world's falling apart. It did feel like that for some, and for most of us. But that's kind of when it started, this whole van life, get into nature. We talked about it for years, my husband and I. Like you mentioned, I'm a military spouse, been married 27 years to my retired Marine. And we kept saying, when the kids get out of the house, we got to explore more. We've been assigned to go to military station to military station our entire career. I say our because I did the back end battlefield. It's not just him. And when you do that lifestyle, there you feel like stifled at some point. So we said, we got to explore. We didn't even know America. We have immigrants that come to the U.S. that knew more parks than me. They're going to all the national parks and all that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we haven't even been to a national park. We don't know what's going on in these states. We don't know what a state park is like. So we kept saying, we're going to do this when the kids get out. But then, there's always those people that say that their whole life and never do it. Oh my gosh, so many people we run into. I wanted to do that, or I've thought about that. And we kept saying, we're not going to be those people. We're not going to be that couple that just says we're going to do it and then it never happens. Like, let's start intentionally, manifesting it, thinking about it, making it happen, moving finances, however it has to work for us. So that's how it started. And I think about a year while my son was we have two kids, but our son was in high school on his last year of high school. And I already started looking for used Sprinter vans, figuring out going to RV shows. We would go to RV shows and just walk through the spaces of RVs, look at the slide out, see how big they are, how small they are, what we can, how we can visualize ourselves in there. And once he had left school, I kept looking on the phone, looking for, we have Craigslist and yes, Facebook Marketplace, all kinds of apps to look for, used vehicles. And we do buy a lot of used. We're military, so like we have fixed income and we don't want to go out and buy everything new. Let someone else buy it new and buy it from them a few years later and save all those taxes. So there's a tip. But that's how the journey started. And once I found this van, again, it's like the manifesting and the way the stars align, you can't explain these things. I saw this van online, and of course there's a lot of no's, which goes with military, marriage, and any marriage. It's like a lot of negotiation. I'm like, how about this? No. Let's do this. No. Oh, I like this. I like this really big Class A. Do you know how much gas that thing takes? No, he said. I'm thinking, I'm never going to get a yes out of this man. So I'm like, looking. I found the Sprinter van, and everything I read about it, I'm like, okay, we should go take a look. And I bring it up and said, we should look at this thing. I tried to write them a message saying, hey, we'd love to come see your van. Radio silence, zero, nothing going on. So,
wow.
There's the discouragement, but you don't give up, right? You persevere. I'm like, okay, well, I'll just keep waiting. I'll keep writing. I'll keep looking elsewhere. By then, our son had graduated high school. Our daughter was graduating college the same year. So we had a dual graduation season.
Oh, wow.
So we stopped everything and did a whole family trip to Costa Rica. That was another thing, like, let's go explore a little more, get the kids out. So we were off grid, you know, doing zip lining and walking canopy bridges in Costa Rica. My mom came, 84 years old, from Germany. She's just as adventurous. That's kind of where I think I get this from in my past. But yeah, so we go to Costa Rica, we have this family vacation, we come back, and now we're empty nesters. So, oh my gosh, like when your identity is around first your husband and then just the kids, there was a lot of shifting that had to go in my mind. I felt like, what was left for me to do? I'm in this house in California, this big house, all these empty bedrooms, meant nothing to me. I'm like, where is the love of the house? Where's my family? They're gone. You know, I have my husband, but I wanted my kids too. So, yeah, that's how it started. And then I went back. I said, gosh, whatever happened to that what was it on? OfferUp. It's a US app for buying used things. You take a picture of it, you just point, shoot, take a picture, upload it. I love it. Very low maintenance, very easy, user friendly. So I said, I gotta go look for that van again. I never heard back from that woman. It's like 6 months later now. And I start scrolling through the phone, you know, and you know, you just have this like intuition, like, why was I scrolling so far down? It was 6 months down in a feed. Like, I didn't even know feeds stay that long. I'm just keep going. And I'm like, well, I'm going to just give up because it's not here anymore. And something just kept me telling me, keep scrolling. And there I saw it again. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's still here. Oh my gosh. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sure it's sold. I mean, they just forgot to delete it from the app. I'm sure it's sold. And I sent a message. I said, hi, checking on the van again. It's been about 6 months. And this time she wrote right back and was like, oh my gosh, this is my dad's van. And I'm selling it for him. He's not techie, so I'm supposed to be monitoring this and selling this for him online. And I see that you messaged us 6 months ago. I'm so sorry. I'm like, is it still available? And she says, yes, it is. I'm like, please, his number right now before we disconnect, before you forget about me. I need his number and his name. So I got that. We called Robert, I think was his name. And I said, let's go look. Again, my husband starts, wow. How old is this thing? It's going to be a sour lemon. I don't know if you use that expression in London, sour lemon, you know.
But I know what it means, yes.
You know what it means. So I'm like, okay, honey, let's just be positive and go check it out. I've worked really hard to connect with this woman 6 months down the road. I feel like something's happening. So he says, all right. So we get in the car, we connect with Robert. Thank God he's techie enough that he's texting back on the phone. We get his address, we go and look at it. And it felt like it was perfect for us. It was at the side of his house collecting dust. The batteries were dead already. Trees had fallen all inside the hood. He already had another big tow-behind van and a SUV truck in his driveway. So we're thinking, okay, he's moved on already. What is this? And he said, yeah, I haven't even been driving that thing. It's just sitting there. I had to go out and he drove it one way from South Dakota to California.
Wow.
And that was it. He had a dog that was too big. It was the dog. The dog was too big. It couldn't turn around in the van. So people, if you're traveling with big dogs, you gotta plan out the space for the dog. We have a little pug and a chihuahua, so they just kind of box up and fit anywhere. So yeah, that was it. We looked at it and he's like, please just take it. Like, I've already moved on. And we saw his dog. It came out. Yeah, it was like a horse. I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, no wonder no wonder it didn't fit in the van. So he was ready to let go of it. We negotiated. I mean, I met my husband in Africa. I was in the Peace Corps when he was with the Marines. You negotiate. When you go to the markets, the African market, you're negotiating for every little piece of wood and artifact. So it's like, okay, put on that negotiation hat. And I couldn't believe my husband drove away. We got down to kind of a price range we wanted, and he's like, I'm not feeling, no, it's not in our budget. We just not in our budget. And I'm driving away with my husband, just like, all that work. And we're starting over, like square zero. We're starting over again. This didn't work out. And the guy calls back on the phone as we're driving up the freeway on the Highway 5 in Southern California. And he says, well, how about this? And we're driving away, still negotiating by phone now. And I'm like looking at my husband like, wait, it's not over yet. And he says, all right, you know, this is the final price. Okay. And we said, okay, we got it. We like that. So we made a U-turn, went back to his house, started signing papers. He was in a hurry for a business trip. He said, guys, take the keys. I trust you. Give me $1,000 earnest money deposit. Take the van for the weekend and go play with it. Go experience it. And then we'll finish up the rest. You'll come back. We're like, the man is just giving us his keys now, and the van, this is crazy. So first we had to have an appointment and fix some battery stuff, get a mobile tech guy over there, and off we went with the van into the distance. And that's where, you know, I say try before you buy. I tell people that too. If they're not quite sure, I've got questionnaires you can fill out. You can try before you buy. But we took off with that thing, and we just ended up, you know, driving blindly in Southern California, looking for lakes and where are we going to go, and found some spot. A lot of illegal camping too, I must say, as you're figuring it out. You hope that police don't knock on your door like, hey, this isn't a camping spot. But we ended up by some lake. I don't even remember the lake, but that was a magical moment, that first time driving off with that van, and we're going to sleep with the sunset, cooking our meal in the van and overlooking this beautiful natural scene. Birds are flying. There's no car traffic.
Wow.
And we're just enjoying the silence. And then when you go to sleep like that, and then you wake up in the morning with that sun rising and just nature and all that abounds around it. I mean, after that, it was like, oh yeah, this is the right move, you know? So yeah, I don't think I've ever given a long story like that on how it started.
Yeah.
But that's how it started. Yeah. And then we rented our house and hopped in the van the day that California said lockdown. Nobody leave your house, keep your masks on, lock your houses. We don't know. The restaurants were shut down. The world was shutting down. We passed our keys on to our tenants and said, let them live in there. That's by a military base. Don't let the house sit empty. You know, I'm always thinking serial entrepreneur. Let's make a little money on the side. And off we drove in the sunset. And literally the neighbors were like, where'd this van come from? I don't know, we just bought it. Where are you going? We don't know. What do you mean you don't know where you're going? We don't know. We're not staying home. We know that much. We're not going to sit in the house in our box wall and do our box life thing. And off we drove, and I'm literally Googling on the phone like, okay, where are we going to end up tonight? So we ended up, I think, at my brother's house, just an hour south at first, like, okay, regroup. Oh my God, is this really happening? Said our goodbyes, did some restocking, and then off we went. And we decided, well, it was around May, June, so we want to explore Arizona more. So like, let's just keep heading to Arizona. And that's kind of how we planned it. Every day we'd wake up and we'd stay in Arizona for a few weeks, and then let's go ahead here, let's go ahead here. And so we started to build our life on the road. Now, mind you, my husband, he's not really into sales, but man, he can sure pull one over me here and there. He says, okay, we're going to do this thing for like 1 month. 1 month, maybe 2 months, and every week or so, you know, if it's getting too tight in the van, I'm going to put you up in a hotel. We're going to, you know, pamper. Well, the hotels were like pretty much shut down, and all I wanted the hotel for was the pool and the sauna, maybe in a spa to get clean, and those were all shut down. So we start doing the math. He's like, oh, why would we pay $100-$200 for a hotel when we can, honey, we just pull out this bed and we sleep here against night. Okay, that's fine. So we're starting to do the camper thing, figuring out how to do our laundry and our little mini shower, how big our water tank is to hold, how long we can go without off-grid, without having to go refuel, without having to fill up the water. You learn by trial. Like, you have to experience it. There's only so much you can read. At some point, you just have to like pull the plug and go. We did that, and he was like, yeah, we're only going to be in this van for 1 or 2 months, honey. And I'm like, oh, that sounds doable. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4. I mean, the world stayed on lockdown for almost a year. So we're like, we were in no hurry. And then when we found more and more beauty, and then we got to like Wyoming and then Montana, and we're going to rodeos, and we're just like in this whole other ultra life. Our poor children, you know, there's like, where are our parents now? They just send texts like, where are you? You know, we might be passing through your town or not. I don't know, but where are you, Mom and Dad? Where are you guys now? So that's what we did, and it turned into 8 months on the road. I can't believe when I look back, like almost a year in a, like you mentioned, 24-foot Sprinter van, which, you know, think about what 21, 24, I didn't know what feet were. I know what 24-foot is now. I know what a 21-foot van is. I know the difference of space in between. So yeah, we did that for about 8 months, and we toured all of America, and we just got into nature and immersed into quietness and fished our own brook trout and made our little campfires. And I mean, yeah, we were like cave people. We were going back in time, but the restaurants were closed. Our diet got better. We weren't out buying, you know, fast food or eating, you know, buttery, oversalted food. We were making our own stuff. We were catching our own fish. My husband at one point is, you know, hunting deer on his brother's property in Ohio. So we've got a freezer full of venison. Venison is a whole different kind of meat than, you know, regular deer meat. But you probably have a lot of vegans and vegetarians on here too, which you can forage stuff from the forest too, you know. I mean, you just start looking and exploring all those things. So after 8 months, I told him, okay, honey, it's been a fun ride, and I love doing this thing, but I don't need to live in a 24-foot van like forever. Like the Marines, like he can be in his one little black backpack. That's all.
Yes,
If you see my
yes.
husband, you'll know him on the street. One little black backpack has his whole life in there. I'm like, what about your extra pairs of shoes and sneakers? No, that was the first. You should have seen him packing my van with me. I'm trying to bring all my shoes, he's throwing them out the van like, thrift store, no room for this. I mean, the neighbors are just like, oh my Lord, what's going on at that house? Stuff was flying out of that van, and I'm crying, I want my shoes and all that. Of course, I don't miss any of that. I think I brought like 10 loads to the thrift store. Even the thrift stores were closed, so we had to leave it on the back porch of the Salvation Army.
Yeah.
So yeah, we left all that. But when you declutter physical space, it's like another step to decluttering the mind. It all has this decluttering thing. And you and I, we met at the Mind Valley Manifesting Summit. Like
Yes.
when you're decluttering and you're creating space, and there was that whole feng shui with Marissa, was that her name? Who does?
Yes.
Yeah, I still have to watch her thing because I was volunteering with you. I missed so many episodes.
I've got to catch up as well myself. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So the decluttering of the physical space, it does something, and then you declutter the mind, and you realize, oh my gosh, you have to let go of stuff to create something newer and bigger, better that you even imagined. So here I am hanging on to my favorite Pampered Chef spatula or whatever, and I'm like, I don't want to part with this. It's too big for the van. And then I started giving stuff away. My husband's like, well, you don't have to give it all to the thrift store. Give your bread maker to the neighbor at the corner. They're an elderly couple. We would have little sundowners at the park, and they were always talking about that bread and how good it was. And like, give them the bread maker.
Yeah.
So now I'm walking around my possessions on the street. Would you like my bread? Oh, yeah, we love your bread maker. Thank you so much. So off goes the bread maker. And then there was a lady at church. She was like Miss Hospitality. I mean, every month if it was Halloween, the house was decorated, like everything, orange and black. Christmas season, decorate, like it's like you're going into a museum every month, different season. So I had this like punch bowl. Those were like maybe the only 2 items I think about. The other 10 loads of stuff, I don't remember, but I had this punch bowl. So you could put a cake, the way you put the topper, it could either hold a cake on it if you're making a cake, or the other way around, it could turn into a punch bowl so you can make a concoction, libation, whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
I said, I gotta pass this thing to this woman because I'm not taking this crystal thing in the van, and she can actually use it. Like she has so many functions at her house, so off I dropped that thing. So yeah, got rid of stuff like that. And then a few months later, people ask like, yeah, do you miss your stuff? No, you don't miss your stuff. I didn't think about the stuff that I brought to the thrift store. I'm not thinking about the things I left behind. I'm thinking about the nature I got to experience with my husband and our marriage that we got to connect and bond on. People, it saddens me when I hear people like, oh my God, you're in a van with your husband for more than 24 hours. That would kill us. And I'm like, this is the man I married. I want to spend the rest of my life with this guy. So yeah, we're going in a van together. And when you're in those tight spaces, like that is marriage therapy. I tell people like, well, if you're struggling with that, I invite you to maybe put yourself in a tight space with your spouse. Well, the pandemic did that, right? And like either it brought people together, and then how many divorces? Yeah, there were babies, right? There's pandemic babies. Like everybody, 9 months later, people like were running around with tummies out. I'm like, oh my Lord, look at all those pandemic babies. Or it was the opposite, and you got that text from a family member or somebody saying, we're getting divorced. And I'm like, oh my gosh. They were at home together in that tight space, realizing we have nothing in common. What are we doing here? And people were doing all kinds of life shift stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, 8 months on the road, and then I said, it's been fun. I still want to do this thing, but I want to do it in doses. I don't need to do this like all the time, 24/7. Can we like find a little place, a cabin, something? Oh, he almost stopped us in Montana and just bought us a cabin there. We were just, of course, camping through, saw some sale signs. We texted the guy, and the guy was so nice. He's like, yeah, everybody's part-timer. They got 2 homes. They're here. I'm not there now, but here's the code to get through the gate. Go stay on my property. Go park your van there, hang out, see how it feels. I'm like, oh my gosh, who does this? So here we are in Montana in the middle of nowhere, and there's deer coming and going. It was amazing. But I do know that Montana gets cold, maybe like 9 or 10 months out of the year. So this is August now, and it's my birthday month, and like, oh, it's my birthday and it's August. And my husband's like, we're staying here. We found our spot. But mind you, even though you live miles and miles away from neighbors, people are still watching. People watch and see. Our kids watch and see what we're doing. People watch our, actions. Are they in alignment with what we're coaching, what we're doing, how we're spending our life, where we spend our time? Someone's watching. not to mention God or your source or someone up there. But here we are camping out on this property. I think within like 2 or 3 hours, a truck showed up. An SUV showed up with a
Oh,
husband and a
wow.
wife, luckily without a gun pointed at us. But they did have their cowboy hats on and their cowboy boots, and they just looked like they were,
They meant
protecting the
business.
property. They meant to, and they come in there and say, hello, how you doing? They have that southern accent, and we're like, hi. And they're like, what are you doing here? And so I pulled out my phone immediately. I'm like, this is the owner, Mark. Yeah, I guess you know him. This is his text message. He said we can come here. We're looking at buying the property. We're just, exploring. Okay. I'm like, did you just see us from 10 miles down the road? Uh-huh. So they were a neighbor, but,
Wow.
really spread out. But yeah, that's the kind of connection and camaraderie and building you can have, even in the middle of nowhere. Someone
Yeah.
is watching or looking out. So we got comfortable there. We put out our awning. We sat on our little zero gravity chairs, old and used again, because the neighbors were throwing them out in California. I knocked on their door. I'm like, you're getting rid of your zero gravity chairs? Ah, they're weathered. We'll take them. So these, have you ever been in a zero gravity chair,
No.
Zishan? Okay. Well, they call it that. I mean, just Google online.
I
It's
will.
those chairs that you lean
Definitely.
back. You see them at beaches. Nothing fancy. I think you can get them at least in the U.S. in Walmart, maybe a couple $100. Online, I'm sure. But it's zero gravity. I guess just the way you recline. It's just a really comfortable
Ah,
position to recline.
okay.
People work in them too if you have back issues. So, yeah, we had our zero gravity chairs that so you just kind of beam up, look at the moon, look at the stars. And we stayed there, and he's like, we're not leaving. And that the cabin, the guy even showed us where the key was so we could tour his cabin inside. This thing was like a 1970s shack. I mean, it's a camping hut for men that hunt with no women around. And I'm like, no, not feeling it. He's like, this is it. Honey, this is what I've been dreaming of. And I'm like, oh, God. You know, so another
Yeah.
point, like we all have dreams, but when you're married, you kind of have to align your dreams a little bit, or you could go off a different way. So I'm like, gosh, I really like the space and everything, but orange shag carpet, wallpaper on the walls that were, I think, molding. I was just like trying to envision how we bring truckloads out there to tear it down and redo it. And I'm like, this is just all too much for me. And I'm sorry, honey. And the first thing I asked that couple that came, I said, oh, how do you like it here? How's the winter? That's all I asked the woman. The wife came out too with her cowboy boot. I said, tell me, how's the winter here? Brutal. She gave me one word. Brutal. I'm like, honey, we're moving on. We're
Yes,
moving
that's it.
on.
That's it. We just moved. I really love the whole journey. How you sharing it. It's amazing. And for the people who are listening to this, so and our question came to me, like, from this, what I'm taking away also is the freedom that you had by deciding this, that, okay, this is the time, let's do it, even though that was 6 months down the line. And also the synergy of like, okay, the van was still available, it's okay. It was like, it was meant to be for you. Like it was there, it's like reading that book the first time, and then you read it again, it then lands differently, right? Now, you needed that 6 months time to then start looking again, right? Because the universe knew that that's going to happen, and it's there for you, it's waiting, right? So you started looking at it again, and there it was. And then once you decided to take that action, everything kind of, what I'm also hearing was, everything opened up for you. This shack, for example, chairs, for example, all these things are just happening, right? So it's like, okay, what I'm taking away from here was like, you said yes to the world, right? Okay, yeah, throw whatever was next. Like, I'm ready. So when you accepted that, you, in a way, you surrendered to the universe, and God, source, whoever you're believing in. Is once you surrender that, all the opportunities became visible to you, right? So like, okay, this, that, everything, like, pick what you want, choose, right? Let's on that journey, right? So, and I love that you started obviously touring. So the freedom that obviously it gave you, right? So of like moving anywhere, waking up into different atmospheres, different locations, I'm sure hearing different noises, different birds every time, different sunsets, different sunrises, and all that stuff. I can see it's amazing. So here's the question that I'm sure everybody's also thinking is, once you do during that travel, how were you able to keep a routine, or were you just adapting to as you were going? I know there was a lots of obviously trials and errors and learning happening. So how were you able to keep yourself into a routine, or was it like take it as the day comes?
Yeah, yeah, that was actually thinking of going there, so I'm so glad you led with that. So yeah, you mentioned trials, ups and downs. So I don't want to paint this picture that van life is rosy. I mean, on my YouTube, I have little podcasts and little snippets and tips, and I call it the poop scoop because half the time I'm on the pooper in the back of the camper because that's the quiet spot. But van life is not all roses and, you know, butterflies. Like, there is a lot of crap that goes along with it. Stuff breaks down, tires break, you get, you know, trailers fall off the back of the side. I mean, there's so many things that can go wrong. You know, all of a sudden you're plugging in, the electricity doesn't work. Like, what button did we press now? Why doesn't the electricity turn on? So lots of trials and error. But I always say, like, the trials are not the foundation of it, and the goodness always outweighs the bad. So whatever trial you're going through, you're not a woman that's had a baby, but it reminds me of childbirth. We just remember that baby coming out and, oh, my beautiful baby. You don't think about all the birthing pains and all that stuff. So the good outweighs the bad. So there were trials that were going along there. And I had some down moments too. I think when we were isolated, gosh, somewhere again in Montana, we stayed in he bought an annual fishing pass in Montana. I'm like, why did you buy a fishing pass for the year? But a week and a year wasn't much difference. He says, well, there's no rush. You know, we could be here for months. I'm like, really? So he's got his fishing pass. We're camping in this wildlife management park area. So it's just like this flat plain. It had a river stream, so we could do our fishing. We had our campfire. And at one point I started to kind of panic. And I'm like, oh my God, what did I just sign up for? Where's my life going? Like, what are we doing? We're not talking to people. We're out in nature, which was great, but I'm a pretty social person, in case you haven't noticed. So I was starting to miss the social connectivity. I'm like, we're so far out of nature. And my husband, you know, was around people and running Marine units for his whole life. So he is more than happy to not be around 300 to 500 people at a time, giving orders, making everybody in formation. No. So there was no plan at first. There was no schedule. There was no routine. Which there's a beauty in that too, and waking up every day, like, what are we going to create for ourselves? That was like every day, like, what do we feel like doing today? And then there's weather elements, like if it's pouring rain for days, you're like with your awning and we're playing dominoes and cards and reading and doing stuff in the van. So your cycle is dependent around weather patterns too. So yeah, and then I'm sitting there one day, he's off fishing, he's having like just like the smile you couldn't erase from his face, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like he's found his next purpose. He's so excited and happy at what he's doing. He can wake up every day like a spring chicken, like 5 a.m, grab his fishing rod, you know, and I'm like, well, I mean, I'm a pretty positive person, all that, but I'm missing a little something because I'm not waking up with that kind of smile. Something is missing. And then he'd come back and I'm just crying all over myself. I've got notes, books, I'm journaling. And he's like, what is possibly wrong with you, honey? Like, people dream a lifetime to do what we're doing. What are you crying about? And I'm having my pity party. Like, my kids are gone. They don't need me anymore. So this whole empty nester cycle, that felt bad. The kids weren't there. I was in my 50s. I was going through menopause. That's kind of a big shift in a woman's life too. So I'm like, okay, I can't even bear children anymore. Like, I'm completely dried up. I'm just put me in a nursing home. I mean, it's just crazy. In my 50s, I'm just like, it's over. Like, there's nothing left for me. And I'm like, okay, this is crazy. And I started to do some abundance classes or courses online, just with other people that had reached out. People were doing all kinds of different things during the pandemic. I'm like, yeah, let me do I forgot the other word, but it was more just like working on yourself, a lot of self-growth work. And I'm like, okay. And then I found Mind Valley. It was like, oh, what's this thing with this mindset shift? And let me look into this. And I realized that was maybe a missing piece of things. I'm like, I can actually be social, but not be social. I can be in the middle of nowhere, but still be coaching and impacting people's lives and doing things from the road, from the van, figured out the whole internet thing, and still kind of living my new living purpose and what I want to, spend time doing. I like to fish and hunt. We just spent time on the beaches of Baja, Mexico last year. We were visiting my brother. It was raining nonstop in California in January. We went there for Christmas and we stayed January. I'm like, why are we here in the rain? I don't know. we have a van. Let's head south to Mexico. And then we take turns. First, my husband's like, yeah. And then I'm like, yeah. And that's what balance in a marriage is. He's like, oh, I don't know, crossing the border and Mexico. And I don't know. And I'm like, we have passports. What's the worst that's going to happen? They're not going to let us in? We don't go through life, what if? Like, scratch that. So off we went to Mexico. And we ended up on the beaches of Mexico for like a month and a half. All because I started a little van life Telegram group, and someone posted in there there was an expo van life thing on the beach, which my husband's like, what? Go on the beach and hang with a bunch of hippies? This sounds horrible. And I'm like, well, I know you like to be in the boondocks with no one, but I want to be around people. And why not hang around like-minded van people? We're going to learn a lot of things about different things with the van. Oh my gosh, they were having a whole program they were showing. They were going to do meditation on the beach, breathwork, drone, core stuff, like anything van life related. So off we went to Mexico for like a month. And then at some point my mom said, take me to Alaska before I die. She's 84 years old, lives in Germany, and says, I'm 84. Like, when are we doing this Alaska trip? I'm like, we took a cruise, Mom, like years ago when I was a kid. Like, that's not enough. No, not enough. She had already camped with us a little bit between Florida and Maryland, so she got the bug. She got that child. No, I want to get in that van again. I'm like, well, 3 of us in a van in Alaska, just get me a tent, she said. Just get me a tent. I'll sleep outside. I don't want to ruin your system and all that. Oh, yeah, leave my mother in a tent outside with the bears. I don't think so. So we made it happen, and she kept asking for itineraries and that. I'm like, Mom, this is very organic. We're just going to be kind of going. And we said, just get to Canada. What day can you leave? Middle of June. Just get to Calgary, Canada, June 15th, and we'll pick you up from there, and we'll take it from there. But where are we going to go after that? Mom, this is part of the adventure. We're not racing to the destination. It's the journey. Just get there. And I told her, one-way ticket, Mom, one way, because she always has her plan. And then I need to be back to see my friends here. I said, we can't rush through Canada and Alaska because Mom needs to make a flight back. One way. When you feel like you've, exhausted it and you're just done, no problem. We'll bring you to whatever nearest airport you can fly out of there, but no rushing. One-way ticket.
Yeah, love that.
So we ended up doing Canada and Alaska too. But my downtime was when we were out there in the middle of nowhere, and it just panicked. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I started to find something I could dive into, and I was working on myself. I was working on all these hang-ups, and as a military spouse, we have this like dependent ID card. Everything is dependent. Like wherever you go, your husband's social security number. You're just the Marine's wife, the military wife, and then the military mom. And so now was the time like, wait a minute, who's Vanessa now? The kids are gone. My husband's not in the military anymore. I need to let go of that dependent ID card. I still like it. It gives benefits. And I can go on the base and get, go to a commissary and all these U.S. Acronym terms for military, but I'm not relying on it like it's my identity anymore. So that was the shift. I had to work on myself, like a lot of self-worth issues, a lot of like dependency, like I always reaching, what do I need? Well, let me ask him. And I'm like, you know what? I have a mind of my own. I think my daughter told me once in high school, I'll never forget. She's like, oh, does your husband turn your neck too for every thought you have or so? I'll never forget. And I'm like, what the heck did she mean? But our kids are so much more tailored. They have a whole different level of consciousness than our generation, these millennials. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not turning my own neck. I have to learn to turn my own neck and go my own direction here and there. I even wrote an article for a Military Spouse magazine. They actually just published it, and it was for a Military Spouse Entrepreneur magazine, and it was on the importance of alone time in a military marriage. And I started to learn and lean into like, you know what, even though we're together 24/7, like there's sometimes maybe if we're like stationed someplace, I can go off and do whatever your dream is. If people want to do cross knitting, stitching, whatever, painting, go off and do your thing. If your spouse is like, I don't want to do that, that's okay. I don't want to fish and be hunted by bears all the time. I mean, we were getting chased by bears while we're catching our salmon. That was quite the adrenaline rush at the Kenai Peninsula of Alaska. So yeah, it was a little, ups and downs, but I got out of it. I got out of that funk because I don't like to stay in those negative places. That's why I'm in the coaching world. I don't want to be in this like therapist world where we're just going over the pain and crying it out. I want to see where I am now and where we can go. Where do you want to go? What's your dream? What are you creating for you in your future? So I got over that. I got the tools from Mind Valley, from Positive Intelligence, just to help me along. Did a lot of breath work and meditation. 6-phase meditation trainer, Bishan did that. So I've taught that places. I'll go on Zoom calls and do it. I love that. To just because it's what they say, at least when we read the book, he has a book too that goes with it, right? So there's the whole past meditation, focusing on the past a little, but and then the present, and that's usually where meditation people kind of they're breathing, they're doing the path of present, but they're not dreaming big enough for the future. So the Vishen 6 phase takes you into those future states, you know, intentions of the day, and then always starting with, you know, compassion, ending with blessing. I mean, it's very spiritual. It's very similar to even like the Bible and Christian mindset of being grateful for things always, and thankfulness, all that stuff. So yeah, getting all those tools got me out of that funk, and we kept getting south, heading more and more south, because I'm a warm weather person. Look, we're in Florida. There's like birds chirping, and I'm almost sweating now, but that's okay. I can't handle the cold. My lips turn purple. So when we were up in Minnesota and those places around September, October, and I started to get the shakes, I'm like, honey, when my lips start to turn purple, it's time to head south. He's like, all right, he can do anything. So we start going further south, and then he's like, well, how much further south are we going? I'm like, I'll let you know, like, you know, when my body feels acclimated. You know, we almost went off the coast of Key West. I mean, into Cuba, you know. I'm like, oh wow, this weather's different here. So we ended up in Florida on the Gulf side. He has a couple aunts in the area, so that was the draw. His mom died when he was 12, so I never got to meet his mom. She was in a motorcycle wreck in New York. And so she had a big family, lots of sisters, siblings, and 2 of the sisters live here. And there's snowboards between New York and Florida. But I'm like, this is the closest I can get to my husband's mother, like the family, and hear stories about her and all that. So it was really, that's why I was kind of leaning into staying here. And again, I just picked up the Facebook. You know, I saw some Facebooks that they had some houses in Florida. I didn't even know where. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm messaging your aunts. Well, I haven't talked to them in years. That's okay. I see them on Facebook. And I messaged them, hey, it's Rusty and his wife, Vanessa, we're in Florida. Where do you guys live? Are you here? They write, oh, no, actually, we're in New York right now. But, yeah, we do have homes in the Gulf side. And, hey, you know, if you guys want to stop by there, go see the neighbor, get the key, hang out a few days. I'm like, oh, a key, a house? Like, we hadn't had that in 8 months. So he's like, this is just embarrassing. Just writing my aunts, and now we're just moving in their property. I'm like, that's exactly what's going to So there we were. I remember opening the door, and of course the neighbor was a Marine, a retired Marine in his 70s. He has his Marine Corps flag flying. So him and my husband were like 2 peas in a pod. I mean, this was a Vietnam veteran. He had a whole different experience. They got spat on when they came back to the U.S. after serving, and no help with disabilities. They were just like horribly treated, and now we give a little more honor to the military, different times. But that flag was flying, and my husband's like, are you serious? It's a Marine. So they're on the porch all the time, hashing up stories, you know, the past, this and that. Oh, the dog is doing her squirrel chasing now. She's 15 years old. It's the only time she moves, when the squirrels run along the trees. Oh, wow. So, but yeah, so we ended up in Florida, and I'm like, okay, well, we have to figure out what's next now. And it just so worked out. I mean, I was, again, a lot of no's, looking at homes like, we like this place. One day turned into 2. I think the pool lady came, the gardener came, they're walking around. They were like, oh, we didn't know people are here. She told us someone was staying for a day or 2. I'm like, oh, I did text her that it would be maybe a week or 2, you know. So now we're squatting in the aunt's house, like, we got to get out of here. I'm like, no, I love their pool, and this is so nice. And the cleaning staff's coming around like, they're still there, you know. So 2 weeks later, we went on again, and then we came back again because we were looking for a house and closing. And so they're like, kind of like, when are you closing on that house? I'm like, we're trying to move as quick as possible. But a lot of no's. Look, honey, this house, no, too much. Again, too much. And looking for that deal, found our one little home before the prices jacked up like crazy during the pandemic, when people were like just going all over the place. And again, from the phone, bought sight unseen, called our Marine Corps friend to come check it out, because we were fishing and camping in the Keys. So we weren't even there. And the woman on the other end of the phone, the realtor, well, guess what? Her father was a Marine. So when my Marine calls and says, I am a retired Marine, and what? Retired Marine? Let me take the house off the market immediately. Yes. I mean, like, again, who does that? It's like, no, realtors want bidding wars. Oh, okay, that's nice. Well, put in your offer. And, oh, well, so-and-so put in that much. No, she's like, block the house. I'm like, is this really happening? And so, yeah, my husband's like, I'd like to have my wife in a house before Christmas. That's my Christmas present to her. Can you make this happen in 2 weeks? Wow. I'm like, in 2 weeks? Like, it's almost unheard of. Like, this is crazy. But we're like, come on, power through, get everything signed, do what we need to do. And yeah, and I remember he ran to Lowe's to get a Christmas tree we tried to decorate quickly and have his family over. They were just coming back. So now I get to meet the aunts. Again, I met them like very briefly another time. So years ago. So he goes to Lowe's. It's like a Home Depot, Lowe's, those, hardware stores.
Oh yeah.
And he grabs the one tree left on like a shelf. It was a white tree that already had the lights on it, just sitting there, just left over, probably discounted by now because it's about Christmas time. And he brought that home and, stuck in the corner. So we had that tree there with our 2 zero gravity chairs, which we grabbed from the van, had no furniture yet, but we had a lot of love. We had family. We went to the store and got like, all this fun, yummy food to cook up together. And it's like, it was one of the best Christmas ever. And we're just in an empty shell of a house with a white tree in the corner with some lights on it. And then it felt like, okay, not home. I feel like on earth, like I'm going to be a constant nomad. Home is when I get to heaven. But it felt like a space we could settle for a little bit.
I love this. And so it was more of like a base where you can, hone back to. So you're traveling around the world, you're traveling US and everything. And then if you need to come back, that would be the place to be. And I love that. A question that was coming to my mind was like, obviously now you're helping others also to enjoy the van life and, guiding them through these little ups and downs and nooks and crannies, that you've come across so that their process is a little bit smoother and they can learn and avoid those, I'll say, obstacles or corners that, you saw and you didn't know that existed, right? And you're like, okay, these things may crop up where you're going. And now you also probably have a nice map of the places that you've been to and all these locations, right? So it's like a secret places that obviously there is I'm sure there's a universal directory for these things, but then you actually have the experience of being in certain places which are not probably at the moment still known, right? So now you're helping with those as well. So when you're teaching, so how can people get in touch with you if they wanted to like know more about it, or what is next in your journey? How you're teaching others to do this?
Yeah, what is next? Well, still waking up every day and just living in the now is what's next. Like living in the moment, living in the now with a little more routine. Once you're, digital nomad, you got to work out. Like when you're going to be online with people, you have to set calendars, schedules and stuff like that, but you do it at your own pace. I would also add here, let me add a few stats before I go into contacting me. So there was a U.S. census that did an analysis of the van life, how many people are living in the van, at least in the U.S. Over 140,000 people are doing this. So, when you think I've been on interviews too where people tried it once or twice, their family was laughing at them and they gave it up. They had a problem with the van. They're like, they're not for me. It's all who you're hanging around with, right? That space, that like-mindedness. So you're not alone. 140,000 plus people are doing this too. Vans, even boats, RVs, all of it. So, and it turns into, a minimalist group of people. You have to let go of stuff to declutter that space and then declutter junk in the mind, and it opens up so many more opportunities. 40% of people traveling have pets. That's why you heard that dog, like pets traveling in the van. 40% of them pets going around with it's a lifestyle. Like, oh gosh, you got to find a hotel. Is it pet friendly? All that stuff. You don't have to worry about that in the van. Like put the dog in a van and go. And then 79% of vans have conversions. So people are buying the shells and then they convert it to their exact specs of how they like to do it. So, and the most popular places are California, Colorado, Florida is on the list. Imagine that. Oregon and Washington. So yeah, that's the little stats on there. But how to reach me is basically through my website, resetwithvanessa.com. That's one way. And I don't know if we can post someplace, but I'm happy to give a complimentary, session with people, 30-minute session to go over and explore what their dream is. So maybe it's the van life. I'm not saying it's for everybody. I'm not trying to push you into like, you got to be in my van life world. This is just what excites me, what wakes us up and what we're passionate about and what the space you want to be in. But for you, if it's something else, I'm there to help you dream your way to your own new reality. So give me a call and have a conversation. Sometimes you just need to hear somebody else validate. Be like, you know what, you're not crazy. This is an amazing dream, and how can we get you to that point? So I'm happy to do that, and I've got a van life community on Facebook for people that want to join that part and just explore when you're hanging out in those chat rooms and those groups and you're asking questions to people that are doing it. Things open up more. You're getting curious, and or maybe it goes the other way and you realize, you know what, these aren't my people. This isn't for me. But if you're on the fence, yeah, you can come explore. Resetwithvanessa.com.
I really love that. So I'll highly recommend everybody to go and check out Reset Vanessa. Reset with Vanessa, or is it Reset?
Yes, resetwithvanessa.com. Because you know, you reset. We had a reset season with the pandemic. You know, life is constantly there's a reset. Different seasons of our life, we could be going down some path. It's like reset, need a reset, readjust. So resetwithvanessa.com.
I actually love that what you just shared there. You know, because we all need to do that reset. Like just before going on to this live on my phone, I had to completely switch off my phone and then start it back up again. So that was pretty much resetting the phone, right? So that it is working in this optimum level whilst I'm doing this. What we will do is, I mean, when we finish our conversation here, we can. You're welcome to comment onto the post later on, and we can drop these things on there as well, so you can share all the links, and they can also get in touch with you. And I will be posting this episode onto as a podcast and Apple Podcasts a bit later on in the year down the line, and I'll share your Instagram on all the links there as well for people to get in touch with you. So what I also wanted to know was, when people are deciding to do this van life, and I love the stats that you shared as well. They're amazing. I didn't even know that with that many people doing it. And
that was
getting
just in the U.S.
Yeah,
That's the stats. I mean, I don't even know other countries.
Exactly. So it's just in the U.S. and only God knows how many if they start doing the census for the whole world, right? And I think they should do it. You know, they should do it. I'm sure so that you can have a massive network of people. If you want to now travel across, you know, like ferry yourself with the whole van.
People are doing it from Mexico. They were ferrying across to South America. We're like, whoa, we're not quite there yet, but people were doing it with homeschool kids. Crazy.
Wow. There you go. See, if you can think it, you can do it. That's all I'm gonna say now, right? So I didn't even know that was possible. So it's happening, right? So there you go. So it's amazing how many things can happen, and also sad to hear that if people are trying it out and a couple of days later or a couple of months in, and they come across a couple of problems and they give up. I think that's when you're supposed to persevere and continue going, because this is actually the time that tells you, right, okay, yeah, is this what we really wanted to do? Is once you persevere, everybody's happy during the happy times when everything is good. But you know, everybody's happy and laughing when the sun's shining. When it rains, then you know that actually, do you actually enjoy that place when it's raining? Well, yes or no, or you just wait the rain out and then come back out when the rain stops, right? And that's what same thing is with the life. So when you get that uncomfortableness and or obstacles, you just need to overcome that and see how, and then continue enjoying it once that finished. And that's what I took that away from. Like, okay, people, and to do that, you need to surround yourself with the people who actually understand what you are trying to do, not what they think is correct or what they think you should be doing. They're not living your life. They're not doing what, I mean, I used to always say, a lot of time, I've always done things my way. Or if somebody says, this is the way you should do it, I just did it totally opposite way of like, yeah, I will do, I am still going there. I'm still going there, but I am going to just do it. Like if they go, you touch your ear like this, I'm like, well, how about like this? So I'm like, yeah, I'll still touch this. Yeah, I'll do it this way, so, or I'll go like that. I'm like, yeah, okay, just doing that. So the reason, and the reason I always gave to myself was like, well, I'm waking up at the times when I used to work and corporate world and everything like that, and people used to say, you need to do this, you need to do that. I'm like, well, no, hang on a minute. I wake up in the morning myself and do these things. So, and I do these things so that my bills are paid off and all that stuff. The day you decide to pay my bills and look after me, I'll listen to you. I'll listen to you what you have to say, right? So these are my challenges, my obstacles. I'll overcome them the way I see fit, right? I'm not gonna just give up thinking, oh yeah, you're right. It's not working. It's not for me. It's not working out. Well, no, hang on a minute. Let me decide that. I haven't solve this equation yet. I don't like maths, but I like obstacles and challenges. So I'm like, let me see, how can I overcome this? So if
Yeah.
now I don't overcome this, then I'm like, okay, maybe it's not for me because I cannot overcome this particular challenge. But we live in a world nowadays, we are able to overcome any challenges or
Right.
obstacles that the world throws at us. I'm thinking of, like, let's say your RV is broken down and you don't know how to fix it. I'm sure you're going to have a cover that calls someone and then they come around and fix it. And then you relax for 5 hours, even though if you're in the neck of the woods that nobody is there. But I'm sure it will take them 5 hours to get there, right? And fix it for you.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
no way that nowadays in this current world that nothing can be
Right.
helped with. There's always a way. Not everything has to be done by yourself. Not everything has to be done alone. There's always help
Mm-hmm.
out there. And this is
Yes.
coming to, I was going to ask you that question now. It was like, so when you started to help others and coach whilst you were doing this, what was the most difficult part that you came across and overcame when you started to coach others? Because a lot of coaches come across the fundamental is like, oh, who do I need to coach? Where do I find these people? So how did you overcome that?
Yeah. Well, I would add to what you said about we live in a world where, everything's at our fingertips, the technology, all that. We also live in a world where people want comfort. They just
Yes.
want to be in their comfy bed with their comfy, cozy jacket and their comfy shoe and comfy sweater, comfy blanket. Everything is like, how comfortable can I get? But growth happens in the uncomfortable. Growth
Yes.
happens for self-growth and for pushing yourself on your own journey. It happens when you get uncomfortable. So yeah, I tell people, like, get uncomfortable. If you're comfortable all the time, like, you're just kind of in a status quo, if that works for you. But if you feel like something's missing and there's something else around the bend, around that next curve, whatever, you have to get uncomfortable. You have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. So that was something that I guess is like a takeaway. Get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And for me too, also just enjoying the power of silence. Because I talk so much and I've been kind of knee-jerk reaction, my neuropath always is gravitating towards, like, get in a group, let's talk, but when I'm in nature, believe it or not, I can talk to the trees and the plants. I can do that. I hug my tree. So they're like, oh my Lord, it's Vanessa. I'm a tree hugger now, because there's power even in nature, hugging the trees and grounding, all that. But the power of silence, I've really learned to appreciate that. And it was like a whole other energy I never tapped into. It's like, if there's no talking or whatever, like, something's wrong. Now it's like I crave it. Like I said, I go to this, Bible study thing on Tuesday mornings where we just sit in silence. And when you can do that and add nature into it, I mean, the benefits of nature, people know, but just to remind you again, reducing stress, improved mood, better sleep, increased physical activity, boosted immune system, enhanced creativity. Like, who doesn't want more of that in their world?
Yeah,
So you got to
exactly.
get into nature to do that. But the obstacles and how I blended it in was, who am I going to teach and all that? Well, I'm a military spouse, so the only people I think I could really relate to and hone in my experience with are other military spouses. So that's how my niche developed. That's what I am. That's what I've been for 27 plus years. So that's what I gravitated to teaching. Now it has, that's just one little niche. People end up doing business with you because they like, know, and trust you. They've gotten to know me in different circumstances. I remember in one of the beaches in Mexico, this woman, we were all camping in the same area. I started a little WhatsApp group with some of our people, and hey, we're on this beach. And my husband be like, and he's like, what's this? Why are there 4 vans pulling up? I'm like, well, I sent them a group WhatsApp. I'm like, we've been alone here for 5 days. We got to share the beauty. They had like a little watering hole where you could like put rocks and make a little hot tub. So yeah, I was constantly like, honey, I'm inviting some people. We've been alone for a while. So I had my little WhatsApp group and vans were showing up. And so this one lady would see me on the beach and I'm like, oh, I have a call. I'll be back. And then I go off in the van. I put my headset on and she's like, what are you doing when you go in that van with that headset? I'm like, I'm a life coach. I had a session. And she looked at me and said, I need to hire you. I need to hire you to help me. I do somatic movement. I've got all these certificates. She's been to Bali. She's got so much content, this woman, on the stuff that she can do. We would sit on the beach and I would do some of my meditation. We did the 6 phase together. Then we did her stuff. So we're like learning each other's, world and space. But she said, I need some structure. I'm like, okay. So when she got back to Lake Tahoe, California, like months later, and I'm somewhere else, God knows where I am. I can't even remember. we had a conversation, and we worked together for some months and helped her just kind of get her business going. Like, I'm not a business coach, but I'm 2 steps ahead on how to change your
Exactly.
Instagram name and download some things. And so we would meet, and I gave her some homework assignments, and it was a beautiful thing. So yeah, military coach is my niche, but there's things out of that too. I had one lady, a former friend from Hawaii years ago, and now she's in California, and she'd get on the phone with me and be like, "You're so calm. You just seem so bad." Like, she said, "I need to hire you." I remember, I'll never forget, she looked at the phone and said, "I need to hire you to help me slow down, Vanessa. I'm spinning out of control. I'm spinning." I'm like, okay, I got some techniques and tools for that. So, it was a civilian woman, but we worked on
Mm.
breath work. She had never sat still and just done breathing and sitting still for like more than, 30 seconds a minute. I'm like, okay, I tried to do 3-4 minutes at first, realized that was too much for her. I'm like, okay, let's start with 30 seconds. So she's like, how about like I'll start my coffee because I need my coffee in the morning. She's like, I'm gonna start my coffee, and while it's percolating, that's when I'm gonna sit down with you. And I'm like, okay, we'll start with the coffee thing. So we start with that, and we just do breathing. She's like, do I sit, stand, whatever? I'm like, just get comfortable. And she was squirmy at first, and then 3-4 months later, we were doing
Mm.
20-30 minutes of Lisa Nichols meditations,
Oh,
where those are like
wow.
15-minute sessions. So yeah, it works. But she saw a need, she reached out, I was there to help.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
all different kinds. And then the military side too has translated. I realize how many veterans out there, in the US at least, don't take care of their paperwork when they get out. There's a lot of medical stuff that
Mm.
they could have benefits for and things like that, and they don't take care of it. They just want to get out and forget about the military and move on with their life. And well, that's benefits that's due to you. It affects you, your family. It's a game changer. It's a lifestyle changer, so that it opens up to be able to do other things
Mm.
because you've taken care of it. So I'm actually helping in that space too, but that's just in the US for military. And that's been really rewarding. It takes a few months, but it could take years doing the cycle on your own. So it's the whole
Yeah.
thing. Like, do you want to
Yeah.
do the paperwork on your own, get denied, 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 beat yourself in the head, and then, maybe get a little break at some point years later? Or do you want to work with a company that has the
Mm.
tools, the systems, that knows exactly every body part and what we could get out of that from the Veteran Affairs Office, and work with us in like a few months and make your life simpler? So it's the same with the van life. You can go and do it all yourself. You can Google your way, all around and look things up, but there's something about going, like you said, with someone with experience who's walked the path. I've got the
Mm.
phone apps. I've got the, my little van life phone apps that, where's the dump station? Got it. How do I get a canceled campground? That's big. When you camp in high demand areas, you can't even get in the campgrounds. And if there's no
Oh,
place to
wow.
boondock, what are you going to do? Well, Vanessa's got tricks for that too. So yeah. Uh, did I answer your question?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm
You
like the
you did.
squirrel in the tree.
No, no, you did, and I really love that as well. So the big thing I was picking up on that was, is how you were making connections with people around you, even though you were in certain places alone, right? So, but then you found other campers, other van lifers, and also, your military connection got you connected with the other military spouses. But it was so my takeaway is, and people who are listening to this, if you are a coach as well, and you're challenged with these kind of connections in terms of clients, because that's all the first people think of, like, oh, I have just got this certification and all this, and now I need clients. Um, if you're looking for clients, yeah, it's going to be difficult to find. But I think if you're just creating connections and friendships, that's where everything blossoms. Because that's what I heard from you, right? So most of them were your friends or connections, or you've met other van lifers, and then they find out, and they oh, actually, I actually need this as well myself. You didn't go and start pitching like, I do this, you may need this service, you might that. So that becomes like, no, your defenses come along, because you then now just sounds like a salesperson. um
Hmm.
and it's a case of like, okay, if you're just sharing things, all right, this is happening. You didn't even say to the person that, like, okay, I've got a life coaching call. You're just like, okay, I need to go to the van, get my headphones, like, put it on, and then created that curiosity by
Yeah.
magic. You just created that
Yeah.
curiosity, and they're like, I need to find out what you do, and you just shared that time. You didn't say, oh, I need to purposely build this story so that people ask me. It happens, like, so when you're not looking for clients desperately, for example, that's how I put it, they appear to you automatically. They're there. And they come,
Mm-hmm.
and the best example that I was thinking of is, like, if you're on a farm and you're trying to grab that chicken, and you can't grab that chicken, right? Because it runs away every time. But then when you decide not to grab that particular chicken anymore, and you just sit and wait, or just do your thing, and now the chicken actually now starts walking around you and is near you, and stuff like it. Now it now knows that it now knows that you're not chasing it anymore.
You're not trying to eat it. You're just, it's okay. So
There
now
you go.
that's good.
Exactly, right. And the same goes with money. Same goes with whatever you try to do. If you're chasing it, it's like the universal law. The more you chase it, the more further it goes, right? And
Yeah.
the more you accept it, that okay, if it's mine, it will just come to me anyway, or I'll continue doing what I'm doing, and I'll get what is mine anyway, right?
Yeah.
That's what your journey is all about. That I'm seeing. You decided to take this step. You decided to do van life and everything, and the doors were opening up for you, which were for you.
And I would add, meeting people physically in person someplace. I know people are still on the Zoomify thing. Like, I can do everything from Zoom, which that's great if you can, and you can like up your game and scale and all that. But there's something, for me at least, it's that human connection. It's a hug. It's a human touch. So getting into physical spaces, we're not on lockdown anymore, people. We can get out there.
Exactly.
So, like, I'm volunteering at a military museum down the road, about 10 minutes away from the house. And it's been amazing because I get to hang out in this veteran space, and I'm talking to these military guys that got drafted into the Vietnam War. A 91-year-old guy, and hearing his story about being married for 70 plus something years to his wife, that they ran off to the courthouse and got married, similar to my story. Now I want to do a whole book on like hurried into the military and getting married, because that's a whole other thing. He was like a radio control guy. Turns out he had a van too at some point of his life, and they went to Alaska 7 times. So I get to go hang out in this space and meet these incredible people. But I'm showing up with the like-minded and being in that space. We were at that military retired veterans house, the guy who gave us the key to get into the aunt's house one year for like 4th of July. And some new people came here and there. Well, we're floating literally in those floaties with a, beer in the hand with a whatever, or a White Claw or whatever they're having. And got to know this woman who apparently served in the military and was also a spouse over like a 10-year period, and had all kinds of trauma and hurts and hang-ups. And, we just connected, and she felt comfortable. I mean, you're in a bikini in a bathing suit, meeting in a pool. She's talking to my husband, the veteran. So all the, skepticism of who are these people? Are they who they are? Like, we were right there in front of each other, and we had a conversation. And I think I worked with her for about a year. And it was the most amazing journey to help her get her self-worth back. She was attracting the wrong men wherever she went for years. She attracted 2 wrong husbands, and she could see it now. She walks into space and she's like, red flag, because it would just come to her. Now she sees it. We went through a Calling in the One from Mind Valley. We did that together on extreme, expedited version, because I was heading to a family reunion in Mexico. So it was like probably a 2-3 month program, and we condensed it. We did 2 of those sessions a day, and would talk about, I thought it'd be like 20 minutes on the video, and it was like 3 hours a session a day. Both of us got sick, like physically during the process, like lost our voices. It was a whole journey we both took.
Wow.
But she came out on the other end with so many tools, and then she got herself together. She's back, and she did medical training school. She wanted to get some degree to get, job opportunity better. Now she's working in the medical field where she wants, and her dream is to get back to Germany, where my mom is, because she went there as a military spouse years ago and had a horrible experience. Never had made connections. Her husband pretty much kept her locked down in the room they were at. She just had, all kinds of stuff. And she wants to go back and recreate that German experience and make it hers and own it and have all the positivity. I got to be a part of that whole process. But that was meeting someone in person, face to face. There's groups to go to. So don't discount that. Zoom is great too, but there's something magical about the human connection in person. No AI when it's face to face.
I really love that. We will be wrapping this up now shortly as well, because we've just gone a little bit over as well. So I know you need to be heading into your meditation
to my silent.
Well, yeah. So before we wrap this up, the last two questions I wanted to ask was, the first one will be, knowing what you know now, what would have you appreciated in your younger years, for example, teenage time? What would you have appreciated that time, knowing what you know now?
Knowing what I know now, if I put myself back into my younger self, you're
Mm,
asking, um, I would have been doing this van life thing sooner. I wasn't exposed to it. I didn't grow up on a farm or in the Midwest where people have a camper at the side of their house. Like, it just
mm,
wasn't my thing. I grew up overseas. My dad was State Department. We moved around every 3 to 4 years with the Foreign Service. So I was kind of nomadic in that sense. Every 4 years was a new country, a new school, a new language. So marrying into the military, oh, whatever, I'm used to that kind of moving. But what I would add is, and I see families now and they're like, oh, when my kids get older, we're going to do it. And I'm like, I invite you to consider to tap that into their life when they're younger.
mm,
Like, that only is going to increase their productivity, their balance in life, their ability to detach from the techie world, to just sit still and be in silent, not do anything, and just be happy with who they are and where they're at, just for waking up and breathing. Like, there's so many things I wish I could have toured this world earlier, and with the kids, with the van, and experienced all this stuff. I'm doing it now, so we're catching up. And we're there to help others. There's homeschoolers that are out on the road now
mm.
doing this with their kids full time. I'm like, wow, changing diapers and all that's a whole different level
Wow.
of, just changing your swim trunks here and there, to diapers and kids. So I commend those people that have 3, 4 kids, 5 kids, and they're doing this thing on the road. But I would say be open to starting it earlier. Whatever your dream is, like, think about taking steps and being intentional a little earlier, not putting that mindset of, when this happens, I'll do that. When they're out of the house, then we'll do that.
Mm.
Explore it already now, and maybe there's room to blend it together and ease into it, So I would add that, yeah. And I have a YouTube, actually, a video of my mom after we came back from Alaska and Canada. And I said, I got to catch her on video talking about it, because she's a senior citizen. It's camping through the eyes of a senior citizen. And she shares some tidbits in there about her younger self and what she thinks, and really valuable stuff about living your dream and getting out there first and then figuring it out. Don't try to map out your whole life. She has all kinds of, when people of our elders speak, we should pause and listen, because they've been walking on the planet a little longer.
Definitely.
So I'm happy to share that too somehow. But yeah, that there's so much to be appreciated, but you got to step into it. And like you said, be around people that are doing it, because there's always going to be a dream killer out there. Someone's
Oh, of
always going to
course.
be killing some part of the dream. But I like how you said, like, are they waking up and making your bed and paying your bills? No. So so let the dream
Exactly.
killers go and be a dream maker and hang around dream builders and
I
dreamers.
love that. I
Yeah, I say
love
dream
that.
your way. I think I even say, yeah, dream your way to your own new reality. I say charge your soul, not just your cell phone. Get unplugged
Mm,
in nature.
mm.
But yeah, it's charging your soul. You want that soul to be ignited and charged, and that fire, like a campfire at a fire pit. You want that in your soul, not just plug in the cell phone. No, no,
Yeah,
no, no, no. There's more
yeah,
to
yeah,
life
yeah.
than that.
I love that. I love that. And then now the final last question would be, from the conversation we had today, and people who've been watching us live, or listening to this on a podcast as well. What would you like them to take away from our conversation today?
To take away again. So living in the now, the power of silence, get around like-minded people to help build your dream. Don't follow the dream killers. There's always going to be a dream killer around the corner. Follow
Mm,
what you want to do. And if you're still searching and you're like, I don't know what I want to do. We're all in that season here and there. It was like that when I was, the military wife, the military mom, and then it's like, what's Vanessa? I've had all these other ideas. I'm a dependent. No, I'm becoming independent. I didn't add that part. So become independent in what you're, trying to
mm,
create. And
mm,
when you do that, when you have the independent, you're owning it. That's self-worth stuff, because you're owning it. You can't blame when you're running your own business. You can't blame anybody else when you missed a call or this or that. He didn't do it. She didn't do that right. You can't blame anybody. It's all on you. But there's a beauty in owning your independence, owning your business, owning how you show up in the world. So if you get around people like that, coaches are there to help with that. And yeah, be open, be coachable. There's still a lot of kids, people, adults, whoever, that like, I don't need that. Immediately they just put, well, I figured it out. I got it. be coachable, be open to something
Mm.
else. And you never know what you'll find on the other end.
I really love this, and what I'm also gonna use is, what was it? Solar charge, not just your cell phone.
Charge your soul, not
Charge
just
your
your
soul.
cell phone.
Charge your
Because
soul,
you were
just your cell phone.
charging your phone. I was charging my phone last night, so I have enough juice for today. I was like, I should charge it now, but you were resetting your phone and rebooting. But we got to do that with our soul too. Recharge. I say, get unplugged in nature with me. The techie world is like killing us. There's so much
Yeah.
technology. People don't have time to just sit still around a campfire or sit and talk. Everything is go, go, go. Need it yesterday, wanted it yesterday. So
Mm.
you got to have intentional, tracking in this techie world to create that space, to create balance, or else we're just going to like spin out of control.
I really love that. I may use that as a title for this episode as well. Recharge your
Ooh,
soul, not just your cell phone, right?
yes,
And we'll just
yes.
put it out there as well. So I wanted to say thank you very much for your time today and sharing such an amazing journey and so many aha moments for everybody to take away. There were lots of golden nuggets. I'm sure everybody were able to take that away. Amazing nuggets there. So everybody who's been listening to us live, and you found any aha moments or spark that ignited something in you, it's our duty now to share this episode with whoever and whomever that came to your mind, or you think should be watching this, because we don't know who's waking up or going to bed thinking of a better day. And this spark that this episode created in you may just create that spark in them as well to recharge their soul and not just their cell phone. See? So thank you very much, Vanessa, for your time, and thank you for everybody as well for watching Tuesday Talks.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. So nice to meet you in Miami, Florida. Where were we?
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye.